Every morning, America wakes up to the familiar hum of traffic and city life. But as the sun rises over downtown skylines and quiet suburbs, thousands of people are already awake, packing blankets, folding cardboard mats, and preparing for another day lived in the open. They move quietly through parking lots, bus stops, and parks. Most of us pass by without realizing that for them, every sunrise begins with the same question. Where can I go today? Homelessness in the United States is often described in numbers. About 580,000 people on any given night. But behind every figure is a story. A mother who lost her job after an illness, a veteran whose rent increased faster than his pension, a teenager who aged out of foster care with nowhere to go. Their stories are not about failure. They're about how fragile stability can be when a few pieces of life shift at once. Take Maria, a certified nursing assistant from Phoenix. She worked long shifts caring for others, but when her landlord sold the building, she couldn't find another apartment within her budget. For months, she lived in her car, showering at a gym before work, keeping her scrubs neatly folded in the trunk. "I didn't stop working," she says softly. "I just stopped having an address." Across the country, this quiet crisis stretches from bustling cities to rural towns. In Los Angeles, tents line sidewalks just blocks away from high-rise offices. In Austin, small encampments appear beneath highway overpasses. Even in colder northern states, people find shelter in parked cars, train stations, or temporary warming centers. The contrast is stark. Prosperity and struggle existing side by side, often separated by only a few streets. Experts call it a hidden emergency, one built on high housing costs, stagnant wages, and limited safety nets. Over the past decade, rents in many cities have doubled, while incomes have barely grown. A missed paycheck, a medical bill, or a broken car can quickly unravel everything. And once someone loses their home, getting back into housing becomes much harder. Credit checks, deposits, and waiting lists form barriers that few can cross alone. Yet within this harsh reality, there is resilience. In nearly every city, outreach workers walk the streets daily, offering water, blankets, and connection to housing programs. Volunteers deliver meals and build trust with people who have grown wary of promises. In the heart of America's wealth, compassion still moves quietly through back alleys and sidewalks, reminding us that homelessness is not about them. It's about us, the kind of society we choose to be. To understand homelessness, you have to slow down. Walk the same streets, sit at the same bus stops, and see how people build a life in constant motion. For those without stable housing, every day is a careful balance between routine and uncertainty. It's not just about finding food or shelter. It's about staying connected, staying safe, and staying hopeful. Across cities like Seattle, Dallas, and Chicago, people wake early not because they want to, but because they have to. Parking lots that served as quiet sleeping spaces must be cleared before sunrise. Belongings are packed neatly into carts or backpacks, ID cards, work uniforms, photographs, and the few essentials that define home. James, a former warehouse worker in Ohio, describes it simply. When you live outside, everything becomes a schedule. You have to know which library opens first, which shelter fills up fastest, where the showers are, where the Wi-Fi works. These details aren't luxuries. They're survival skills. Many people without homes still work. Some start early morning shifts at restaurants, hospitals, or construction sites. Others take day jobs or participate in training programs designed to help them return to the workforce. Having a job doesn't always mean having a home. Rents in many cities now outpace full-time wages, leaving thousands in what advocates call working homelessness. Community centers, churches, and libraries have quietly become lifelines. They offer restrooms, internet access, and something harder to find: kindness. A cup of coffee, a place to charge a phone, or someone who remembers your name can restore a sense of normalcy. In these spaces, connection becomes as valuable as any resource. For families, the challenge multiplies. Parents do everything they can to keep children in school, rotating between motels, relatives' homes, or transitional shelters. Teachers often become the first to notice instability. A child too tired to focus, carrying an oversized backpack filled with everything they own. Across the nation, schools now coordinate with local housing programs to prevent students from losing both their homes and their education. Seniors face another reality. Fixed incomes rarely match rising rents, and many older adults quietly struggle to stay independent. Outreach programs in cities like San Diego and Portland now pair healthcare visits with housing referrals, ensuring that aging doesn't mean losing safety. And yet, amid this uncertainty, resilience shines. People form small communities, watching over one another's belongings, sharing meals, celebrating birthdays, even when there's little to give. In these makeshift families, there's a quiet pride. We take care of our own. Homelessness isn't just the absence of a house. It's the presence of constant motion. Every decision, every step, is about maintaining a fragile thread of stability in a world that often looks away. Homelessness doesn't appear out of nowhere. It grows from systems that shape daily life: housing, healthcare, wages, and community resources. When those systems fail to connect, people fall through the gaps. And once they do, climbing back up can take years. Housing is the first and most visible factor. Across the United States, the cost of rent has risen far faster than wages. In many cities, even people working full-time can't afford a modest one-bedroom apartment without spending more than half their income. Economists call this being cost-burdened. For millions of renters, it means living one unexpected bill away from losing their home. In some neighborhoods, redevelopment and rising property values have pushed long-time residents out of affordable units. For families already living paycheck to paycheck, these shifts leave few options. Waiting lists for public housing can stretch months or even years. Vouchers and assistance programs help, but supply simply can't keep up with demand. Then there's healthcare. A sudden illness, injury, or medical expense can trigger housing instability faster than almost anything else. Without access to affordable care or paid leave, people often face an impossible choice: treat their health or pay their rent. Once displaced, managing any health condition becomes harder. Keeping medications safe, staying warm, or finding rest is a challenge without a home. Employment is the third link in the chain. The modern job market rewards mobility, but housing instability limits it. Without a fixed address or reliable transportation, applying for jobs becomes complicated. Some employers hesitate to hire someone without a permanent residence. Yet, across the country, organizations are changing that, creating training programs, offering mail services, and partnering with companies willing to give people a new start. Social support also matters. Decades ago, extended families and neighborhoods often acted as safety nets. But in many modern cities, those ties have weakened. People move for work, families spread out, and isolation quietly deepens. When hardship strikes, many find themselves facing it alone. Experts emphasize that homelessness isn't caused by a single mistake. It's the result of intersecting systems that fail to meet people where they are. Fixing one part of the problem without addressing the rest is like patching a roof while the foundation cracks. Still, there are glimmers of change. Communities are beginning to look at housing as infrastructure, just as essential as roads or schools. Preventative programs that combine housing assistance, job training, and healthcare are showing strong results. They demonstrate that when systems connect, people recover faster and stay stable longer. All across America, cities are learning that solving homelessness requires more than compassion. It requires coordination, persistence, and creativity. The most effective solutions don't come from one idea or one organization, but from partnerships that connect housing, health, and opportunity into one system that works. One of the clearest examples is found in Houston, Texas. Over the last decade, the city has reduced homelessness by more than 60%. The secret wasn't a single program. It was teamwork. Local nonprofits, hospitals, housing authorities, and faith groups all agreed to share one database and one goal: permanent housing for everyone they serve. Instead of working in silos, they work side by side. The result? Faster placements, fewer people lost in paperwork, and lives rebuilt with stability. In Utah, the Housing First approach became a turning point. The concept is simple, but powerful. Provide housing first, then offer support for health, employment, and recovery. When people have a safe place to live, they can begin to rebuild other parts of their lives. This approach has helped thousands of veterans and long-term unhoused residents find security, and the data shows the results last. In New York City, the home-based program takes prevention even further. It helps families before eviction occurs, offering mediation with landlords, temporary rent assistance, and legal aid. Instead of waiting for people to lose housing, the city intervenes early. This proactive model saves public funds and keeps families together. Smaller communities are finding success too. In Austin, Texas, the Community First Village transformed 50 acres of land into a permanent neighborhood for people leaving chronic homelessness. Residents live in tiny homes, share gardens, and participate in creative and job training programs. "This isn't a shelter," one resident said. "It's a neighborhood that believes in us." Partnerships between the public and private sectors have become essential. In Seattle, employers and developers are contributing to affordable housing projects near major job centers. In Denver, churches and small businesses have opened unused properties to serve as transitional housing. Each effort reinforces the same truth. Stability grows when communities act together. Technology is helping too. Shared databases, digital ID cards, and mobile outreach tools allow caseworkers to find people faster and coordinate care more efficiently. Real-time data helps agencies spot trends, track results, and make funding more effective. These success stories prove that homelessness is not an unsolvable problem. It's a logistical one. When resources align, results follow. But progress requires steady commitment, because the causes of homelessness, housing costs, health, income inequality, don't disappear overnight. Still, each success builds momentum. Every family that keeps their home, every veteran who receives keys, every city that turns a temporary shelter into a permanent home adds another piece to the puzzle. Behind every housing program, statistic, or policy are people, each with a name, a story, and a determination to start again. When you meet those rebuilding their lives after homelessness, what stands out most isn't despair. It's persistence, grace, and the quiet hope that stability can return. In Los Angeles, Maria, the nursing assistant who once lived in her car, finally received permanent housing through a supportive housing program. Her apartment is small but full of light. She keeps her work badge by the door, a daily reminder that she never stopped showing up. Having a key changes everything, she says. You stop surviving and start living again. In Denver, Jamal, a Navy veteran, volunteers for the same outreach program that once helped him. Years ago, he lost housing after a long hospital stay. Today, he drives a van that delivers meals and hygiene kits to people still on the streets. When I tell them I was there too, he explains, they actually listen. His story embodies the power of peer support, help offered by those who understand. Families show remarkable strength as well. The Turners, a couple with 2 young children in Ohio, faced eviction after a rent increase. A community organization stepped in with temporary aid and financial counseling. Within months, they stabilized their income and moved into an affordable complex managed by the same nonprofit. It's not just a roof, the father says. It's a second chance to build our future. Across the country, small acts of care ripple outward. In libraries, staff quietly set aside time to help visitors print job applications or renew IDs. Churches host weekly dinners open to anyone who needs a meal. Local laundromats offer free wash days sponsored by volunteers. These gestures seem small, but to those rebuilding from instability, they restore something deeper than convenience. They restore belonging. For seniors like Gloria, a retired teacher in Portland, the hardest part wasn't losing her apartment, but losing her sense of community. Through a shared housing initiative, she now lives with 2 other older women. Together they cook, share stories, and garden in the backyard. We call it our second act, she laughs. We take care of each other now. These individual recoveries form the emotional core of the national conversation. They remind us that homelessness is not an identity. It's a condition that can change with the right support. What connects all these stories is the same message. People don't need rescue. They need opportunity. Across the United States, thousands are quietly writing new chapters, finding stability, reconnecting with loved ones, rediscovering purpose. Every key turned in a new lock is more than housing. It's a promise that tomorrow can be different. If there's one lesson every city has learned, it's that no single organization can end homelessness alone. The most meaningful progress comes when an entire community takes ownership of the issue. When businesses, volunteers, churches, hospitals, and local governments see housing not as charity, but as shared responsibility. In Seattle, a coalition called We Are in Unite City Leaders, Employers, and Service Providers under one mission: make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. Their approach combines immediate outreach, food, hygiene, and medical care, with long-term solutions like affordable housing development and job pipelines. We treat homelessness like an emergency, one organizer said, but we respond with coordination, not chaos. In San Diego, hospitals and housing agencies now work hand in hand. Doctors realized that many patients returned again and again, not because of medical failure, but because they lacked a stable place to recover. Now, discharge plans include housing referrals and case management. The result? Fewer emergency visits, better health outcomes, and renewed independence for patients who once cycled through crisis care. Faith communities remain the heartbeat of local compassion. In Atlanta, churches rotate hosting temporary shelters each week, ensuring that families always have a safe space. In Nashville, volunteers deliver hot meals nightly while connecting people with mobile clinics and counseling. These efforts transform compassion into structure, turning kindness into infrastructure. The private sector's involvement is growing too. Tech companies, construction firms, and developers are joining forces to fund modular housing, workforce programs, and affordable housing incentives. In Los Angeles, One partnership built 232 micro-units in less than a year using recycled materials and prefabricated design, a model now studied nationwide. Schools also play a quiet but vital role. Across districts, social workers help identify students without stable housing and connect families with resources before a crisis deepens. When a child can stay in the same classroom, that stability ripples through generations. Housing is the first homework assignment, one teacher said. What ties all these examples together is not just compassion, it's consistency. Communities that succeed keep working even when progress feels slow. They celebrate small wins, share data openly, and adapt when strategies fail. They recognize that homelessness isn't a single problem to solve. It's a reflection of how connected or disconnected a city chooses to be, and the results are visible. In places where collaboration thrives, street homelessness decreases, public trust rises, and local economies strengthen. Neighborhoods become more inclusive, and families who once struggled alone now find support waiting just a few miles away. Each partnership, each volunteer shift, each repurposed building adds to a growing proof. When a community cares collectively, change is not only possible, it's sustainable. Across the United States, a quiet alignment is taking shape. From small towns to large metropolitan areas, the lessons learned locally are starting to connect into a broader national response. One that treats housing not as a privilege, but as a public foundation as vital as healthcare or education. Federal and state programs are evolving to reflect this understanding. Expanded housing vouchers, rental assistance, and veterans programs are helping more people find permanent stability. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development now encourages communities to coordinate through regional systems that share data and track progress together. It's a shift from fragmented responses toward unified action. In Minnesota, the state legislature recently passed a bipartisan bill funding both affordable housing construction and eviction prevention grants, recognizing that prevention saves money and lives. Colorado has adopted a similar approach, dedicating a portion of state taxes to permanent housing and behavioral health services. These policies are more than paperwork. They represent a moral recalibration toward inclusion. Technology is accelerating this change. Shared databases allow outreach teams, hospitals, and social workers to coordinate real-time updates on available housing and support. Predictive analytics identify households most at risk, allowing early intervention before crises escalate. The digital transformation of care is helping make homelessness prevention more proactive than reactive. Public awareness is also shifting. More Americans now see homelessness as a systems issue, not a moral one. Media projects, podcasts, and documentaries have brought attention to the realities behind the statistics. Viewers are beginning to recognize faces they know, a neighbor, a coworker, a classmate's parent, reminding us that this issue touches every community, not just a few. Private industry is contributing as well. Construction firms are testing modular designs that cut building costs and time by half. Employers are offering housing stipends or partnering with nonprofits to provide workforce housing. Financial institutions are developing low-interest lending programs for affordable housing developers, ensuring that social progress also makes economic sense. But perhaps the most promising sign of progress is the growing cooperation between people who once stood on opposite sides of the debate. In many cities, advocates, business owners, and policymakers now sit at the same table. They may disagree on tactics, but they agree on one shared goal. Everyone deserves a safe place to live. Building a national commitment means sustaining these partnerships across political lines, funding cycles, and generations. It means protecting progress from being undone by short-term thinking. The vision is not about perfection. It's about persistence. If the last decade has proven anything, it's that homelessness is not an inevitable feature of modern life. It's a reflection of collective choices. And when a nation chooses to act together, transformation becomes not just possible, but visible. Across the country, a quiet transformation is underway. In neighborhoods once marked by struggle, new beginnings are taking root. A mother unlocks the door to her family's first stable apartment in years. A veteran sits at his kitchen table, writing a job application with a steady roof overhead. A teenager who once studied by the light of a street lamp now does homework at her own desk. These are small moments, but together they tell a powerful story of recovery, belonging, and dignity. In Los Angeles, Maria still works her nursing shifts, but life feels different now. She starts each morning with a ritual, opening her curtains to let in the light. "It's the same sun," she says, "but it feels new." In Denver, Jamal, the veteran outreach worker, helps others the way he was once helped. "Hope isn't something you find," he says. "It's something you pass on." These stories remind us that housing is not only about walls and doors, it's about connection. A stable home gives people the foundation to rebuild relationships, care for their health, and participate fully in community life. It restores the sense of being part of something larger than oneself. The broader movement to end homelessness is learning from this truth. Every successful program, from Housing First models to prevention funds, has one thing in common. It treats people not as statistics, but as neighbors. It's this shift in perspective that turns policy into compassion and charity into partnership. Change also comes from ordinary citizens, volunteers who deliver meals, mentors who help with job applications, landlords who open their doors to tenants with vouchers. All are part of this story. In many ways, the movement to end homelessness has become a mosaic of small, consistent acts that, when seen together, form a picture of national empathy. Challenges remain, of course. Housing costs continue to rise, and gaps in access still exist. But the landscape looks different now, more connected, more informed, and more determined. Across states, communities are proving that homelessness is not an unsolvable problem. It's a call to organize, innovate, and care. In the end, this story isn't just about those who lost homes. It's about what home means for everyone. It's about belonging, safety, and the simple dignity of closing a door at night and knowing you are safe. Imagine an America where every person has that chance. A light in the window, a warm place to return to, a name on a mailbox. That vision is not far away. It's being built each day through quiet acts of courage and compassion. Because the heart of this nation has never been about how high we rise alone, but how far we lift each other. And with every key handed to a new tenant, with every person who finds their way home, that heart beats stronger, reminding us that progress begins when everyone, at last, has a place to belong.